Hi everyone, how are you all? Do you remember my last class about the history of cinema? Where we were talking about kinetoscope, cinematograph, My Bridge, 12 Horses, Black Maria Studio, Lumia Brothers. Did you remember? So this class will be the continuation of the previous one. So, as we were talking about the Lumiere brothers in the last class, what did I say? Lumiere brothers are the very first filmmakers. Okay. So, what was the movie they screened to the audience? It was Workers Leaving the Lumiere Factory. Remember? So, that happened in 1894 and it was publicly screened in December 1895. Okay. The second film was the arrival of a train. So, in a railway station, when some train arrives, that arrival of train was captured. Okay. So, what happened next was during the early cinema, films were very short, sometimes only a few minutes or less. And it was made to public display at a ground or some music hall wherever there is a screen. These sort of movies were screened. Okay, so so what are the concepts or what are the messages they conveyed through the movies? They did not have any message, but they started to capture the day-to-day activities of the people. Take, for example, local scene and activities, uh, views of some foreign lands, some short comedies, or some news that are worthy to share. Those kind of things were captured and was screened to the public. Okay. Special effects like slow motion, fast motion, backwards motion all had a unique appeal during those times. Okay, so next comes this guy called George Melis. So George Melis is a filmmaker and he was also a magician. So he played slightly different roles in technology. Okay, so he started to give double exposure, subject appearing, disappearing. All that was sort of magic in the movies. Okay. Um, then comes Edwin S. Porter. Edwin S. Porter, this George Melis, and other filmmakers turned to short narratives as the main basis for their pictures. Okay, so early cinema. Early cinema was between the year 1893 to 1903. So during this period, films were circulated from country to country. Take for example, if a movie is made in India, it is rotated or it is circulated to another country. Take Kenya. It is given, it is circulated easily. Okay. So this was when companies who were dedicated to filmmaking was formed. Next comes this World War One. When this World War One started in the world, this transferring of movies from one country to another country was restricted. It wasn't allowed to circulate the movies from one country to another country. So after this World War One, Hollywood emerged as the dominant industrial force in world film production. Next comes silent film era. Silent film era is between 1894 to 1929. So, what is silent film era? The name itself will tell you. It had all type of silent movies. There will not be any talks, but only silent. Right? In the initial period, all the movies were silent movies only, and those particular period of time is known as silent film era. Okay. So in the silent film era, it had many movements which brought changes to the cinema. So one was classical Hollywood, French Impressionism, German Expressionism, Soviet montage. Okay. So in the later classes, I will be explaining about what each of the movement contributed to the society. Um, so the silent era also had improvements in their technical aspects. Okay, it also had 3-point lighting, close-up shot, long shot, panning. What is panning? From left to right or right to left. This is panning. This is panning. And continuity editing all became prevalent in this period. So silent movies all were very simple. One of a few of the very popular silent films are A Trip to the Moon by George Mellis, Birth of the Nation by D.W. Griffith, Battleship Potemkin by Sergei Eisenstein. All these movies are notable movies. The Great Train Robbery by Edwin S. Porter. All these movies are available in the YouTube, and you must watch it. It all very simple movies, but it is worth watching. Okay. Um, okay. Again, I'm going to talk about the Lumia brothers. You know about Lumia brothers. This is just to give a little more details about them. Lumia brothers hailed from France. They invented portable motion picture camera called cinematograph. The cinematograph, you remember, which we were talking early, it was invented by Lumia brothers. So their movies were a collection of 15 to only 30-second scenarios. Okay, the very first movie lasted for 5 to 8 minutes. It was collection of scenes like we were talking about train arriving at a station, and then a man watering his garden, men playing cards. All these different activities are clubbed together, captured, and it was screened to the audience for 5 to 8 minutes. And that was few of the movies which Lumia brothers created for the people. Okay. In some theaters, what happened when this movie was screened, take a train coming to the station, the audience who were watching the movie thought the train is about to come hit them, so they were all very scared. Okay, like these kind of daily day-to-day activity scenes was captured by Lumia brothers. So George Mellis, this director, his stories had real plots. Okay, he used actors, he used acrobats, he used magicians and all. He also had special effects, and tinting was used to reduce lightness. Next comes Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison director did not use close-up shots. There is no camera movement, no real stories. Okay, but he made like very few depictions of daily life. He also used kinetoscope films in the Black Maria studio. You remember Black Maria studio, which was the very first movie studio. Then comes Edwin S. Porter. This Edwin S. Porter, he learned camera skills. Okay, and he eventually became a cameraman at the Black Maria studio. He started capturing outdoor scenes. He had camera movement for capturing. Close-up shots were used, but very rarely. He introduced parallel action. Like you must have seen different scenes, right? At the same time, there will be one girl washing her plate, the other girl will be sleeping. So simultaneously, if there are some shots shown, so that is introduced parallel action through a rough form of cross cutting. Then comes D.W. Griffith. D.W. Griffith used a variety of camera position. He used close-up shots more often. Editing innovation, parallel editing were used, and he directed long films which lasted more than 3.5 hours. Okay, and he also used lightings. So these are the early stage of directors. So today we were talking about the early cinema, where cinema was movies were circulated from one country to another country. And then comes the First World War, which gives restriction for that. We were talking about the silent film era and the most popular silent films, and Lumia brothers, George Mellis, Thomas Edison, Edwin S. Potter, and D.W. Griffith. These are the famous directors of the initial stages of cinema. In the next class, we will be looking at the different movements of cinema. Thank you.